All right, welcome back everybody for another amazing week of Introduction to Civil Engineering. We've got an awesome class for you guys today. This is probably the most favorite class historically because what I do is I invite a whole bunch of students that are just your peers who have been through the gauntlet of their civil engineering education, and they are here to share with you their wisdom and their knowledge and their experience. And it's an opportunity for all of you in 101 to get really vulnerable and ask your questions. And, you know, I invite you guys to consider the tough questions, the questions that really matter to you. Now, I'm going to moderate our question and answer session today. I reserve the right to interject myself, and I would also request that all you students keep the discussion and the questions appropriate for class. But with that being said, too, you know, if there is a hard question, you can text it to me privately, and I can consider it, and I'd be happy to ask it to our panel. So the format for you asking your questions would be for you to raise your hand electronically or digitally, and I'll call upon you to ask your question. Or again, you can text me privately. Now, one of the challenges with this 101 class is that the chat has become kind of a fun place for lots of banter and back and forth. And normally I am totally in favor of that, but I'm going to respectfully ask that today we leave the chat specifically for questions. So if you guys want to chat and things like that, let's hold on to it for next week. And if you do start the banter, we'll try not to publicly shame you too bad. Before I jump though into the question and answer panel, I'm going to share my screen with you because I want everybody to be aware. Let's see, screen 3, that's the one I want. I want everybody to be aware that there's a new project assigned today. This is project number 5, and it's going to be based on kind of the question and answer session from today. This is an opportunity for you to start to do a little bit of research and see which professor does research that might be interesting to you. Yes, BYU, or the Civil Engineering Department here at BYU, is a research-focused department, which means we understand that and we believe that the greatest civil engineers are produced by getting the students' hands dirty and having them really push the envelope and develop new things in the field of civil and environmental engineering. And so make sure that you guys check Learning Suite, that you get a good start on project number 5. There's going to be some internet work for you on this. We used to have you go and meet with the professors as part of this assignment, but once we got more than 60 students registered in 101, that just became impractical, and so we don't do that anymore. We're up to about 180 students in 101 now, so there's no chance that would happen. So all of this project is done online, and you'll see that you'll be going to websites like Google Scholar, ResearchGate, the faculty homepage to learn more about the research that our different faculty here at BYU are doing. So note the due date for that is 2 weeks from today, November 10th. So I recommend that you don't hesitate getting a head start on that. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce the 4 panelists that I invited today. We have Seth, we have Michael, We have Adam, we have Delilah, we have Nicole, we have Bryce. I think that's everybody, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm missing one. Who am I missing? Is that it? I thought I had 7. Okay. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So I've got 6 students here today that are going to be able to answer all of your questions. Do each of you guys want to introduce yourselves and say whether you're a graduate student or an undergrad student and what your area of interest or specialization is?
Sure. If you want to let us know who to go, what order to go in, we can. If I can start.
Yeah, just it's a mosh pit, so just dive in there.
Okay. So I'm Bryce Barrett. I'm a grad student right now. This is my first semester as a grad student. And I went through civil engineering. I actually started out as a geology major and did research first in the geology department, something that I've continued participating in actually up until now, even starting my grad work. And now I'm working in research as well, and I have for the past over 2 years with Dr. Frankie. And I'm working on a project to model BYU and make a high-resolution drone model of BYU. And it's been awesome time, awesome opportunity.
Okay. Who's next?
My name is Adam. Glad to be here. I'm a first semester master's student or graduate student like Bryce. I originated at a community college where Professor Magleby grew up, if everybody knows Sister Magleby. And I was an education major. After about 2 years, I switched to engineering. So I got a little experience there. And I am personally interested in structures and doing my master's thesis, however, in remote sensing and infrastructure monitoring, and work under Dr. Frankie. I've had a few research opportunities, both from other professors in the structural department, the structural discipline, the water discipline, and then now with remote sensing, Dr. Frankie. So glad to be here.
Okay, Seth, why don't you go next?
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Seth Ferris. I think I own the record for longest time here. I've been here since 2012. There is a 2-year mission in there, so I guess that kind of doesn't give me the record fully, but it seems like a long time. I'm in my last year of my master's degree, hoping to graduate here in December. And yeah, so I am currently doing my master's work with Dr. Miller and Dr. Williams, doing more environmental research on Utah Lake. But I also have experience in the wastewater industry, an internship up in Bluffdale with the South Valley Sewer District up there. Yeah, and I think that's what I want to do more rather than environmental. But I'm happy to answer all your environmental engineering questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Seth. Seth, it's probably best if you turn off your camera. It's not that we don't want to see your face. Your internet connection is really slow, and so maybe it will speed up your voice a little bit.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, Michael, do you want to go next?
Yeah, happy to. So Michael Stevens, I'm first year master's student. I kind of came to civil engineering by way of electrical engineering. Decided those guys were kind of boring, and so made the switch over. I've explored a few different options within civil engineering. Started out thinking I was structural like everybody else, and then explored transportation, and now I'm kind of settled on water. So we'll see how long that lasts. But I'm currently doing my master's with Dr. Jones in the hydroinformatics lab, and I also I mean, kind of throughout that process of figuring out what I wanted to do, I've explored a lot of different, different career paths, including in business. I've been a part of a lot of clubs. And so if you're kind of in that same boat, happy to kind of share my perspective, and hopefully it'll help.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Nicole, why don't you go next?
Okay, Nicole Hastings. I'm also one of Dr. Frankie's graduate students. I'll be graduating next December, and I'm giving Seth a run for his money of actually being the longest one here, because I also started in 2012. So yeah, it's been a while. I'm just so looking forward to graduating, Seth. I am. But yeah, so my project right now is going along with remote sensing with geotechnical engineering, and actually improving on our algorithm that we're doing right now. So mine's a lot of coding rather than civil engineering, but it's a very heavily based civil engineering application. And so yeah, and my specialty is geotechnical. Adam keeps saying that it should be structural, and I do pretty decent in water too. So yeah.
Yeah, and still that siren call to geotechnical engineering rings for all of us out there. Yeah, including you, Michael. Okay, and Lila, you want to go and finish us out here?
Yep, I'm Lila. I started BYU with Nicole and Seth back in 2012. Originally, I was going to be a nutrition and dietetics major. Switched to civil engineering, thinking I was going to be structures. But then I took the geology and the soil mechanics class, so I switched to geotech. And yeah, I'm a master's student. This is my first year, so hopefully I'll graduate in the next year. My project, like Nicole's, is more coding, but I'll be coding some geotechnical models into a program that can hopefully be used in the future.
Awesome. Nicole also just joined the National Guard, and so for any students who are interested in military and how that meshes with your schooling, she might be able to help answer some of that question. Clay, I can't forget our favorite Italian-speaking student, Clay. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm still coming back from my internship. I'll be back to my house in like 2 minutes. I can say a thing or two though if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm the only undergraduate on the panel. My name's Clay Fulmer. I am from a super tiny town in called Circleville, Utah, about 500 people. I came to BYU after serving my mission in Italy, Rome. Like Dr. Frankie said, I speak Italian. I came to BYU thinking I was going to be a mechanical engineer. I've always loved science. My dad his master's is in geology, but he always taught science, and my mom was a reading specialist. So I really loved education and learning and physics and all that jazz. So I got to BYU and I started as mechanical, and I just kind of figured out I didn't really want to build doorknobs on spaceships. I met my wife in the program, the mechanical engineering program. And we've had a baby since. I'm the president of ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineers right now for BYU's chapter. And I started in seminar, and in seminar, there was a graduate student that said, hey, I've got a really hard project that's really not that fun, but I have tons of hours and stuff to do. So I came up after, talked to that graduate student and talked to Dr. Frankie, and eventually got on the research side of stuff. And since then, I've loved geotech and got an internship, and I plan to do a master's here in about a year-ish. That's
Awesome. Thank you, Clay. Okay, let's just hop right in. We've got a question right off the bat, and so for the panel, it would be best if you guys try to keep your answers concise and brief so we can fit in as many questions as possible. One of the questions coming in is, how did you know civil engineering was right for you? I mean, were you undecided between civil engineering and some other majors? Some of you have already admitted that you were in other majors before you came to the light side and joined the Jedi of the civil engineering profession here. So maybe you'd like to share a little bit about your experience, but again, try to keep it brief so we can fit in as many questions as possible.
I'll start. So like I said before, I was an education major. I wanted to be a professor of ancient scripture, so go kind of the LDS scholar route, theology. And I realized I wanted to make money. Was one of the driving factors. Another driving factor was I'd always been drawn to science and math and having an analytical brain. Part of my upbringing was in kind of a construction-based family, and so serving a mission for the LDS, for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I also was exposed to a lot of people that worked with concrete and building residential homes in Mexico, and so kind of combining all of that together, I realized I liked math, I liked science, physics in particular, and it led to me taking one or two, actually the CEEN the equivalents of this class that y'all are taking, to get me really interested in engineering. And then from there, I switched majors and pursued it and haven't looked back despite all of the strenuous times. And only true structural people stick with structures. I'm just going to throw that in there.
I can chime in for a second as well. So as I mentioned, I was a geology major before this, and I've had many interests and had a hard time choosing what area I wanted to study. But something I liked about civil engineering, actually when I took the 101 class that you guys are in right now, was realizing that civil engineering really equips you with the tools to problem solve. And though maybe I could have gone geology route or some other major and maybe had to stick within that kind of field, I feel like civil engineering equips you with the skills and the mindset to be able to work in many different disciplines. A lot of civil engineers that finish, may not even go into civil engineering firms or groups, but they may work for other organizations, problem solving, doing things that maybe another major would have studied, but because you have an engineering degree, people like that and they take you on, and it helps just having that background.
Yeah, I have several professional friends who got a civil engineering undergrad degree specifically so they could get into law school or get into medical school. Those professional programs like law school, medical school, they love civil engineers. And so, yeah, it's a very solid field or solid degree to get into other professions. Another question came in. Why did you choose to pursue a master's degree? Why wouldn't you just stop at a bachelor's degree?
Can I take this one?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to stop my video just so then you actually can hear me. But so I was one of those people who was like, I'm going to get my undergrad and get out of here. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't getting A's throughout all of my classes. If you guys were curious, you can have up to 9 credits of D in the civil engineering department before you have to retake any of those classes. So I'm not the smartest person on the face of the planet as far as civil engineering goes. During my last year, kind of had a realization, though, that the civil engineering, I guess, profession can be changing. If you have a master's degree moving forward, it'll just put you in a better position for higher up positions within companies. And I figured that I would much rather get my master's degree right now while I'm still kind of used to being poor, used to being a college student, than wait 20 years and realize, oh, I need to go get a master's degree in order to be qualified for a certain position. So I don't know if I'm going to need it or not, but I'd rather get it done right now than later. And a big thing for me is I did have a research opportunity right out of the gate. And so that definitely helped influence my decision to get a master's degree. Oh, and I'm getting a message that apparently the 9 credits of D isn't a thing anymore. Thanks, Nicole.
I think you can only have 2 Ds now, so 6 credits. That's how old you are, Seth.
Gosh.
I think it's 10 credits, but that's like 2 classes.
10? I don't have to look at.
Okay.
It was 9 during my undergrad degree. So anyway.
We'll have to call Kim Glade back in and tell us. Who else? Anybody else want to comment on why you chose to pursue a master's degree?
Yeah, I can add on to that. I think, like Seth, I wasn't necessarily planning on it. I like I kind of mentioned earlier, I wasn't super passionate about one particular area, but I think number one, actually, when I was deciding this, my dad told me this, that you can become passionate about a lot of different things. Maybe not everything, but you can become passionate about a lot of different things. And so just because you're not passionate about geotech or about water or about structures doesn't mean you can't become that way. And number two, like Seth was saying, it's a really great security blanket. You know, what if you get out into the industry and you're trying to switch jobs, and that master's degree is something that is a distinguishing feature on your resume, or perhaps there's a very specific problem that you're facing in your career that you can draw upon your knowledge that you gained as a master's student. And people, when I was trying to make this decision, people would often tell me that you'll never, 10, 15 years down the line, you'll never regret not having gotten a master's degree. Obviously, it's not necessarily an option for some people, but if it is an option, go for it right after your undergrad, because it's a lot harder, like Seth was saying, to go out and come back than it is to just continue on with your schooling.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So I'll add to what has been said that most of the specializations within civil engineering have recognized the need for additional education in the classroom, as well as hands-on experience through research, to get you ready for what's coming in the field. And so in civil engineering, a master's degree is almost considered like an entry-level degree. And a bachelor's degree, if you take that out into the field, if you take it out right now, you can get some really good jobs, because there is a strong job market for civil engineers. But if you really want to climb the corporate ladder, if you really want to have positions of management and leadership opportunities made available to you, at a minimum, you should have a master's degree. That's been my experience. Okay, another question, a couple of questions on this. Some folks have caught on to the few mentions about coding that some of you have said, and they want to know your opinions on computer science courses. How many computer science courses should they be taking? Would it be worthwhile to get a minor in computer science? What are your thoughts? Maybe some of you who have been using or are using coding in your research, you guys want to tackle that one?
Yeah, I can start us out. Based on what I know about the field, is coding isn't a necessary job skill. You're not going to get looked over if you don't have one, but it can help, especially the further our technology progresses. It'll be easier to have you know how to fix it than having to wait for IT to come and fix something, or you could write a program yourself that you could use for your company or even sell. So it wouldn't be a bad idea, but don't feel like it's necessary for your degree.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the CS minor right now as well. And I would say like it's 19 credit hours. If you really, really, really want to do a CS minor, go for it. But I would also say like definitely it would be good to be familiar with CS, but yeah, it's not a necessity in our field, but it will get you a lot of more and different doors open that wouldn't be the case with just being a not really basic civil engineer, but like you're just doing civil engineering instead of, oh, I also have these other skills I can bring in to be able to help and do things.
I'd also add that there are many resources to teach yourself a lot of what you may need or what you may use in civil engineering or wherever you may want to go. And so although a minor and those classes may be helpful, it might be more than what you really would need to kind of sharpen your skills if you're just looking to increase your skill set.
So thank you guys. I want to jump in and just say there's been a traditional stereotype about civil engineering. Like, if you want to do computers, go to computer or electrical engineering. If you want to deal with building machines, go to mechanical engineering. If you want to make concrete, come to civil engineering. That's always been like the stereotype. And that stereotype doesn't hold anymore. Every field of engineering is getting into technology and computers and programming. For instance, some people have approached me and asked, hey, Dr. Franke, why do you do research with drones? You're a civil engineer. And I say, well, who do you think is the users of the drones in the professional world? It's, the mechanical engineers are designing the drones, that's great. But who do you think the ones who's actually flying and using them in the professional world? It's the civil engineers. And so, yeah, we have a strong interest in moving our department more and more towards high tech, big data, computers, programming. So I'm going to just inject myself and say, yeah, I strongly encourage you students to try to get programming experience under your belt. It will help you in future research experiences and in the future direction that civil engineering is going. Currently, our curriculum doesn't have any big requirements for you to go get some of those courses, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 or 5 years that requirement changes for future students. Okay, another question, a lot of questions on internships coming into the comments. Questions related to how do you fit it into your schedule? How did you find your first internship? Is an internship important? Those kinds of things. And so maybe the student panel here can address internships and any of those elements that you think are important or that you feel you can address, go for it.
I could say a thing. So when I started as a mechanical engineer, they have a really in-depth introduction to their class because they don't have seminars that continue. And in their book, they give you a little booklet. They say you should have like 2 or 3 things before you graduate that make you really valuable depending on what you want to do. You don't have to know right now, but one of those is research, because that could lead to, an internship, or you could go get your master's. So one of my 2 biggest goals was to get research and try to understand if I really loved geotechnical engineering, and then try to get an internship. And honestly, like when you have no experience of like doing anything, research is such a big deal, because I could tell people, oh yeah, I know a lot about liquefaction. I've looked at all the testing data that they used in the field a lot. And they're like, okay, at least he has an idea of what's going on. So at least for me, I think that's the way to go. I'd really try to do research when no one wants to hire you when you're an undergrad. No, just kidding. Just when you're a freshman, sophomore, it's really hard to get an internship. Or they'll be like, hey, you have to work 30 hours. Because I have a lot of friends who did that as freshmen and sophomores. But It's really good to do research at the very beginning, in my opinion, because professors work with your schedules, and then internships after is really good. And usually they're a little bit nicer once you know some things. They're trying to find students who know things when they're juniors and seniors. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I can add on here. I definitely echo what Clay said about research. I think that's a great way to get into it. As far as internships, I really think that the sooner you get them, the better. And it is hard. It's that catch-22. How do you get experience if you don't have experience to put on your resume? You know, but so in terms of finding those internships, finding that experience, I would say, number one, leave no stone unturned. Go to info sessions, you know, reach out to companies, look for online listings. And along with that, number two, I would say really hit up your network. Maybe you know people from home, or maybe you met a civil engineer at you know, some conference, or maybe somebody in your church congregation is a civil engineer, or maybe they know a civil engineer. You know, I think especially when you are young and you don't have experience, relying on your network can be really important.
Yeah, that's some great advice. There is no shortage of internship opportunities, especially in a hot job market. I think most of these students on this panel will agree with that. In fact, sometimes we as professors are having to kind of shoo potential employers away, like, leave our students alone. They need to focus on their education. It's not always like that. I've been here long enough to see the effects of recession. And during recession, you know, it is more competitive to get internships. So really, it is completely up to you what you want to do. A lot of students ask questions about, should I do research or do an internship? And to me, it's not an either or situation. You can do both. It's good to do both, but I definitely would not sacrifice a research experience for an internship, but you can get away sacrificing an internship for a quality research experience. So that's been my observation and experience in my own career. One question that I'm going to tackle myself here, there's a question that I think is a really good one about minors. Is there a minor that is good, minors that you'd recommend? I'll just say that minors are completely up to you students. It's not required. You guys can do any minor that you want. You get you know, most departments offer minors. You get a minor probably in things like interpretive dance. You can get a minor in culinary arts. I don't know, but you know, I have a minor in Portuguese. It has done nothing for my career, but it was easy. I took a test and I got the minor, and so it worked out for me. But I will say there are some minors that are really, really potentially useful for engineers. I think computer science could be a great minor, and getting that experience in coding. A minor in a math field, particularly applied math or statistics, would be excellent. A minor in a field like economics could be really, really valuable as well. So those are just a few that come to my mind. But we'll leave it at that. Okay, there's some questions that were asked that I really want to throw to you students, because I want to hear it straight from your mouths. Some students are expressing curiosity around balancing school life with social life, and how do they achieve or accomplish their goals as scholars and students, but at the same time still have an enjoyable college experience. I think one student said it best in the questions, where it's like, do I just buckle down now, have no social life, and finish my degree as fast as possible, or not do that. I mean, the alternative, of course, is stretch it out and look to have more of a social experience. I know I certainly have my opinion on this, but I want to hear you students and hear what you have to say.
This is Adam. I'm going to jump on this one. So to date myself, I'm actually started school in 2011, so I beat Seth and Nicole. And so I've been in minus the 2 years for admission. And switching majors, I took 6.5 years to get my undergraduate. And the reason I did that was because I believe it is important to be mentally, for your mental health, because I studied social sciences before this. It was in education, interested in psychology, communications. Personally, I believe mental health is very important. And a lot of the professionals that I've spoken with in civil engineering in particular, because that's my experience, but I'd say it's equal across the board, they're looking for people who are well-rounded. And so being able to just come in to school and focus on all of your grades and just doing academic, meaning you just get straight A's, versus someone who has a little bit of experience in like with internships or research along with their school, I think is a really good balance. For me, I did that second route, and I also only took about 12, 13 credits a semester, which was a pretty good load for me. And my importance to keep my spirituality high, my social skills high, and just my overall mental health is my number one priority. And I'm grateful that I took longer. Quite frankly, I'm almost 28. I don't really care that I took 6.5 years to finish school. And now I'm doing another 1.5 years, right? I'm going to be almost 30 by the time that I graduate, and I'm done. All of my 20s have been in school. Quite frankly, I don't care, because the next 40 years, I'll be set up with a career, but also good habits to have a good mental health. Because I know of professionals back home personally that have gone suicidal and not been able to manage stuff with their own personal lives. So that's my tidbit.
Good counsel. Thank you, Adam. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Lila.
Yeah, I'll add on. Basically just echoing what Adam said, I tried to do the 15, 16 credits with a part-time job. And not only did my grades suffer, but my mental health did too. And it was not fun at all. So I dropped down to about 13, 14 credits. And I focused more on hanging out with people, talking with people, just basically de-stressing. And not only did I understand the homework better and what we were learning better, but it's been a lot more fun since taking time to hang out with people.
Yeah, again, I would reiterate what both Adam and Delilah shared. Just like in the youth program now, they come out, and this has been something that I've always liked, of just having a balance in life with social, intellectual, spiritual, and physical health, and making sure you give time to those things. And if you have time for those things and you're taking many credits, you can do it, great. But oftentimes you need to balance school, and that might be something that you can maybe give a little more give to, so that you can make sure that you're healthy and you enjoy this time. Honestly, the time that I've been in school here has been fantastic, and the friendships and the relationships and the experiences I've had in all of those realms have been really rich and rewarding. And I know if I would have rushed and just tried to finish, I would have missed out on a lot.
I love
Can I
it.
say one last thing? Sorry.
Yeah, Clay.
I was just going to say, one of the biggest reasons that I stayed in civil when I took the 101 class was it just feels like a family. I mean, when you move up into the next levels and we have the seminars, freshmen to seniors, I run it right now as the president. I mean, it's just amazing to be a civil engineer. It's this big family. You see each other all the time. It's not like, I mean, I just can't describe the difference of what it was like black and white going from mechanical engineering where it's cutthroat and all this stuff to civil where people like care about you. We all meet together. Everyone's there. I just can't imagine you going through this, busting it out in 4 years and completely losing that experience. I am just so 4 or 5 years. I mean, there's just so much you're going to get out of this department, but you've got to be here and not just completely in your homework.
Yeah. Okay. You heard it from the horse's mouth. I'm not calling you students horses. I'm sorry, but you understand what I mean. It's a common phrase of speech. I strongly believe that this is such a unique time in your life. Enjoy it. Use it. It's a time where you have the potential to build networks and socialize and have fun and practice and try on new ideas, new things, new beliefs, new hobbies and habits. And the consequences are minimal if you decide that that's not a good fit for me. It's a time for you to really learn who you are, and don't lose that. Don't give that up. This is coming from somebody who did that. My college experience was one of textbooks, spreadsheets, homework, and I slept and I ate, and that was it. And if I wish, sometimes I'm like Uncle Rico. I wish I could go back again and live it all over again. I have those sentiments, and maybe that's one of the reasons I'm a professor, is I feel like this is my redo, right? Because I'm so passionate about the lifestyle of a student. I want you guys to have that student experience. It's so important. So don't throw that out. That's all I'm saying. Okay, everybody, will you please, all the students in the class, please raise your virtual hands so we can do roll, and just leave them raised for the remainder of the class. Okay, again, everybody, all the students in 101, please raise your virtual hands for roll call. Another question, a lot of questions coming in about, and we are running out of time, and there's more questions than we'll have time to answer them. So this has been great, but I want to say,
I can't raise my hand.
oh, okay, Robert, we'll get you. Stephanie, make sure we get Robert on the roll.
All right.
So one question that's popped up several times is how did you guys find your right fit for research? How did you start? How did you get into a research experience with a professor? Because gosh, it seems awfully scary. It seems intimidating. So maybe share some thoughts for these freshman students.
I'll go first. So just like you're talking, Dr. Frankie, it's really important that you find friends within the civil engineering major, because that is absolutely how I found my research. One of my friends who was just above I was, he was like, hey, I'm graduating soon. I need someone to take this research. Do you want it? And basically that's all it was. But because I had a relationship with him prior, he felt more comfortable giving me that opportunity. Then from there, it was easier to go approach Dr. Miller, Dr. Williams, and say, hey, I'm interested in taking this specific research. I don't know. So if you're like me and talking to a professor is really scary, find other friends within civil engineering, see what they're doing, and then kind of go from there. But I know it's different for everybody, but that's what worked for me.
So I'll give my tidbit on this. I'm an opportunist, and I'm going to echo a lot with what Seth. The relationships that you have with people and with certain professors give you an opportunity. I give you an opportunity to do research. Like I said, I want to do commercial building design and structural engineering, but having gotten started, I was friends with Bryce, who worked for Dr. Frankie first, and Nicole as well, and they introduced me to the research. I think it was Nicole first. And then Dr. Frankie let me on with unpaid, and eventually I started working for him full-time. Well, full-time as an RA undergrad. And now I'm doing research with him, and it's given me the opportunity to pursue structural engineering coursework but doing a master's thesis in remote sensing or infrastructure monitoring with the drones. And so taking that opportunity, that opportunity wouldn't have come had I not made friends. And Nicole and Delilah, we have grading parties every once a week because all three of us are friends and we're TAs over the same class. And Bryce asked me to be his one of his groomsmen for his wedding this last summer. So the opportunities that you get do birth beautiful friendships.
I guess I'm the weird one. I went and talked to Dr. Frankie myself. I just really loved listening to the 101 seminar. I heard him talk about how much he loved his research in Italy, and that was my mission. And I remembered what they taught me in mechanical engineering. Go right to the professor, look up 2 or 3 of the most popular articles they've written and try to read them and understand their research, like if you want to actually do it. And I think I went and talked to Dr. Frankie and I was a complete mess. I think I was so nervous.
You were fine. I was impressed because you were so confident.
Oh, it freaked me out. And I just come from work as a carpenter and I was all sweaty. I look like a construction worker. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to look. You can look at the department websites and maybe you just kind of poke around and see what people have and just go for it. I mean, it's scary, but I mean, a lot of professors, it depends on the time. They may have research that they really need help with and they may not. But usually there's always a professor that's like, I wish I had 40 undergraduates working on something. Like, that's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I'll just jump in real quick and just say, just like Clay, just reaching out and talking with the professor. In geology department, first volunteered for a little while, then got hired on. And then other opportunities come up just through a department email. I got involved with Dr. Frankie's group when an opportunity arose. So just keep your eyes open, but be proactive as well and reach out to people after doing a little research to figure out what you'd like to participate in.
Yeah, awesome advice. I'd say just keep an open mind, guys, and be curious. Reach out and communicate with professors. They're usually more than happy to talk with you about potential opportunities. Some professors offer paid opportunities if their project is funded. Others, it's not paid. It's on a volunteer basis. But all of those opportunities can be fun and can lead to some really cool things. Like a lot of the students here on this panel got to go with me to Italy 2 years ago, and that was a cool experience. Okay, the last question, and I'm going to answer this one because a lot of people are asking about it. Construction, that they want to do field engineering, construction management, those kinds of things. Is civil engineering a good place for you? The answer is yes, and that's because whether you are aware of this or not, construction management and civil engineering are merging. Yes, our 2 departments are merging, and by this time next year, we will be 1 department. And so you will still be able to get a construction management degree, but you will be a student in this department. Or you can get a civil engineering degree. But there is a very strong overlap between construction and civil engineering. And so if you like the construction route, you can focus specifically on construction and do civil engineering. Or I do recommend geotechnical engineering as a route because as a geotechnical engineer, you'll have the skills necessary to do the field construction work like grading and those kinds of things. And so, yeah, you can definitely get a lot out of your degree if you have a civil engineering degree and you choose to go into construction. If you have a construction degree and you want to go into civil engineering, it's not going to happen. That door doesn't swing both ways. Okay, well, we are out of time, everybody. So everybody, let's thank our panel of students that joined us today. This class, we could go for another hour with all the great questions that are coming in. Now, in a couple weeks, we're going to have a similar panel, but we're going to have it with our panelists are going to be engineering practitioners. So I'm going to invite some engineers who will join us from their jobs, and they'll hop in and tell us a little bit about what their career is like as a civil engineer out in industry. So a lot of the questions you guys asked today would be totally appropriate to ask that, that group of professionals. So again, thanks for joining us this week. And this will be the end of the class, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you.